The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 9 delivers one of the most jaw-dropping episodes in the entire series, capped off with two of the most dramatic deaths we've seen so far, Commander Nick Blaine and High Commander Joseph Lawrence. The fallout from Serena Joy's wedding to High Commander Gabriel Wharton, which included drugging her with sedatives and setting up a deadly plot to take out key commanders in Boston, was always going to have consequences. But losing both Nick and Lawrence, two longtime mainstays of the show, plus Wharton himself, left fans reeling. What makes these deaths even more powerful is that neither Nick nor Lawrence was supposed to be part of this deadly plan. Nick was originally at the hospital with his wife, Rose, until she convinced him to join her father, Commander Wharton, and fight for their family. As for Lawrence, his involvement came through sheer circumstance. The commanders arrived earlier than expected, cornering him into action. In the end, Lawrence made a definitive choice. He had to blow up the plane, and himself, to stop the evil system he had helped build. And no, the show doesn't give us explicit visuals of Nick and Lawrence's bodies. But make no mistake, this isn't a show where ambiguity means hope. This isn't a cliffhanger from a sitcom. That fiery explosion in the sky, watched with tearful eyes by June, marks the end of Nick, Lawrence, Wharton, and the other commanders aboard that doomed flight. The emotional weight of Nick being added to the flight cannot be understated. For Lawrence, who had a complicated but genuine connection with Nick, it made the mission all the more painful. But the stakes were too high. Backing down would have meant surrendering everything, and Lawrence, in memory of his late wife Eleanor and for the future of the daughter he never truly got to have, knew he had to see it through. Could Nick's fate have been avoided? Maybe. June was there. She saw him get on the plane. In theory, she could have shouted, warned him. But that would have undermined everything they had been building toward. June still loves Nick, in her own way. But trust. That's long gone. She couldn't be sure he'd help her or choose the right side. He had already made his choice. And even more dangerously, if June had been spotted by any commander or driver, the entire operation would have collapsed. This was a one-shot opportunity to strike at Gilead's power structure. June had just witnessed Lawrence make the ultimate sacrifice. There was no room for old love to interfere. The mission had to come first. Nick's story ending with June watching that plane explode is a poetic and tragic finale. Their love story was never meant to have a happy ending. It was meant to mirror the world they lived in, one where choices are brutal and hope comes with a cost. His final conversation with Lawrence centered around her. She told me to give all this up. She did tell me. Many times. You should have listened to her. It's a haunting moment that sums up Nick perfectly. The kind, decent man who loved and saved June, and the scared boy who could never fully rebel against the powerful men pulling his strings. His death is undeniably sad. But Lawrence's? That's the greater tragedy. Because Lawrence chose this path, knowing it would end him, but also knowing it was the only way to truly begin breaking the system. Happy ending for Nick wouldn't have fit this series. And with the Testaments just around the corner, removing him from the board now feels like the right creative move. In the end, he couldn't bring Gilead down. But his death. That might just help finish the job. And that's where this episode leaves us, with sacrifice, loss, and a flicker of hope. In a world like Gilead, that flicker is everything.